What's up, fellas? Hey, I'm laying down in the bed. Try to get my mind's kind of wandering a little bit. You know, a lot of people out there, move my hand here. But a lot of people, they're out there. I think they're kind of confused about understanding, analog, understanding vinyl records, understanding digital. Um, a lot of the confusion is just simply from marketing. A lot of these people, they're marketing different things out there, and they're trying to sell things, and it's confusing. I don't want to say that they're misinforming people, but it's not really. They're not really being 100% honest. And I think people are starting to realize that these people that are making records or whatnot, just whatever category, whatever you want to put it in, I just want to kind of simplify it. Talk about analog, digital. What are you getting? I've slowed down quite a bit buying records just because the market, marketing and everything is just kind of getting crazy. And I understand everything is that way. You go to the store, buy a gallon of milk, and it costs more money, and it's everything's more expensive. Okay, so it's not just in the vinyl. And a lot of people, I guess, are upset because they're finding out that a lot of these new records um, are coming from a digital source. But most new records are coming from a digital source, and they're like marketing. They're saying, "Yeah, these are coming off of the original tapes," and it's like, okay, yeah, it is, but it isn't. Okay, it is, but it isn't. And I just want to kind of talk about that for a second. Okay, number one. Okay, just number one. Remember this: that your turntable has a cartridge and your cartridge has a stylus. Okay, that stylus, when your needle, okay, we'll just call it the needle, it's on your record. That's analog. Okay, it's analog. It's just that simple. If you're playing a record and your needle is hitting that record, it's vibrating on that record, and it's running it through the cartridge, down the tone arm wires, into your phono stage, and then it goes into your amp, but then it comes out to your speakers, and then your speakers are vibrating. Here, I don't know what she is. She just I think she's mad because I'm doing this video. She's out there just hollering. The small little dog Daisy's distracted me. But anyway, it's if your needle hits the record, it's analog. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, and a lot of this is just common sense. Okay, and that's why I want to kind of talk to you about it. It's common sense. A lot of this stuff, and you get a lot of these people. They're marketing. Yeah, we're going to take the original tapes out. But see, here's the thing: is they take the original tapes out and they digitalize them. Okay, and they run them through a computer. Okay, they go use the original tapes, but they run it through a computer, and they're processed through a computer, and then they make a master, and then they start pressing records. Okay, and they're selling it as the original tapes, when in actuality it's not. Okay, it's not analog. Okay, the old analog, they ran it um, off of the tape into an analog processor onto the master. Okay, they don't do that. Okay, as far as I know, they don't do that. Maybe somebody does, but I'd say 90% of the people out there, they don't do that. So, but here's the thing. if it sounds good. Okay, if it sounds good, just be happy. Because if you're putting a needle on a record, you're enjoying your music. It's analog. You see a lot of these new records. They just did the Miles Davis, okay? They just redid the Miles Davis. And what they did with this, okay, I'll tell you what they did. Is they took the original tape or whatever, okay? And they took it and they reprocessed it, okay? And what they did was is they boosted the EQs. Okay, they raised the okay. You have a floor, which is basically your let's just say it's like your distortion. It's like, and they raised the EQs. They got it farther away from the floor, which caused the music to be hotter, and it caused the background noise to be darker. So anytime they lower the background noise, like a record makes that hiss or a tape makes a hiss or something like that. Anytime they lower that, it sounds better. Okay, it just because it makes it more black. They call it black, and it makes it more black, and you can hear the music and the tones and everything better. Plus, they're boosting the EQs and they're adjusting it and everything, and people they're like, oh, it's just the best, you know. But the thing is, it's not really correct to the period of what it was recorded. I'm kind of a purist. I want to hear it without somebody getting in there and boosting the EQs and running it through a digital processor, and they and that's how you could tell. Okay, that's how you could tell. Somebody says, you know oh, I recorded this digitally. I downloaded this into my computer from Robert Ludwig's record, and it's but here's the thing: is okay, you took Robert Ludwig's record, and then okay, which is an engineer, he mastered the album. Okay, he was the engineering master. Hi, Daisy. Daisy's over here. Hi, Daisy. How you doing, baby? What's wrong? She don't feel good, I don't think. Something's going on. Okay, but okay, here's the thing though. And then they put it on a computer, okay? But here's the thing. Is that computer there's some type of engineer, whether it's a software engineer or a computer programming engineer, or there's some type of computer engineer. Okay, so then you ran the Ludwig through there, and then all of a sudden it's been digitalized, and then some other engineer, and you say, "Whoa, no, 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 it's no, it's not. It's not the same. It's been digitalized." And another engineer has got his hands on it. Okay, and what they did was is they lowered the floor, they boosted it, they made it hotter, they boosted the EQs. I don't care. And I can tell you right now, if you look at the distortion rate, okay, look at the distortion rate. How could you take something, take a Robert Ludwig, which has a distortion rate of, let's just say, I don't know, let's just guess and throw a number out there. Say it's got a 1% distortion rate, okay? Then you digitalize it, and then all of a sudden now it's got a point 0.1 or a point 0.02. Now, how do you lower the distortion rate unless it's been through another type of engineering process? It's impossible. It's not the same. It's been digitalized, okay? And you know what? And honestly, in some instances, it probably, or but to say a lot of instances, it sounds better, okay? So then they take that new, they've ran it through another engineer, it's been digitalized, and then they go and they cut another master from the computer or whatever, and make another master tape from the computer, whatever. There's all kinds of ways to spin this, and then they make another master copy, and it's got hotter, it's hotter and it's darker. The bass line's lower and the music's higher, and then they make a recording from it, Then now everybody's confused because they don't understand what happened. Well, what happened was that they have reprocessed the record through another engineer, digitalized it, and then they recut it. I mean, you know what I mean? And then it's just getting farther away from the original. Now a lot of people will say it's better, and that's fine. You could say that it's better, but don't tell me that it's the same because it's not the same. You know, that's where a lot of people get all wanked out on this stuff is they say it's the same, it's the same. No, how is it the same if it doesn't have the same distortion rate? Okay. You know, if you've lowered the floor, raised the EQs, you've made it hotter and you've made it darker, it's not the same. Okay. It's not the same. Now, at the beginning of this video, remember I said the needle touches that record, now all of a sudden it becomes analog again. But it's been reprocessed and reprocessed over, and it's been re-engineered, and it's gone through all these phases of stuff. And honestly, I don't mind distortion. I don't mind a high distortion rate. They do the same thing. Some of my favorite amps have a higher distortion rate. I've got amps that have very low distortion rate, which just basically means it has more filter capacitors in there. It has higher quality filter capacitors in there. So when you listen to your music through some amplifiers, it has better capacitors in it. So it lowers the floor, and it kind of makes it more clear, and it just sounds better with some amps. But also, I've noticed that the if you have an amp with less capacitors in it and higher distortion, and you'll have a higher distortion rate. To me, in a lot of instances, it sounds better because it hasn't been filtered so much. Okay, you're getting more of the sound, but yet you're going to still have the higher distortion rate, and it's going to have more background noise and stuff in it. But some of that stuff just drives people crazy because they can hear the background, and it's not so quiet. So yeah, so that's that, and that's what's going on today with the records. They're a lot of these newer records. It's like they take. Here's a good example. Let's just say they got some old blues. It's on 78s. Have you ever heard them when they reprocess it and then they put it back on a record? It's like it's been digitally remastered or it's been remastered, and then you listen to it. It sounds great, but it doesn't sound like the original 78, and you can just tell. Okay, and that's the exact same thing they're doing with these new records, like with Miles Davis and the Beatles and all this stuff. And maybe, I don't know about the Beatles. I'd say that they're probably using computers with a lot of these Beatles records and stuff like that. And they're digitalizing them and reprocessing them and re-engineering them and stuff like that. But does that mean they sound bad? No, it doesn't mean they sound bad. It doesn't mean they sound bad. And it doesn't mean that it's not analog. Okay, it doesn't mean it's not analog because, like I said, if your needle is going through that record, that needle's vibrating just like the hairs in your ears. That's why people love records so much, is because it's so much more natural, and your body really picks up the analog from the needle because it's just like the hairs in your ears are picking it up and they're vibrating it. It's the same thing, and that's why people just love the sound of vinyl. And I do, personally, I just love it. I just want it to be more, a lot of these people, they're selling their old records and buying new records, and it's just like, well, maybe you should just listen to CDs, if you don't want to hear the noise and the pops and the clicks and the imperfections and stuff like that, and that's cool too, maybe stream your music, or something, get a CD, where it's been processed onto a CD, but it's not the same as listening to a record. It really isn't. It's okay to, my brain will just turn the pops and clicks off. A lot of people, they listen to it, they go, man, that thing's awful noisy. It sounds like it's got clicks and pops, and it's just not a very good recording. But a lot of times, I don't hear a lot of that stuff because I've already, been content with hearing these things, and I could just tune them out, and I listen to the music, and I could hear the music on them. So I don't know. It's just a lot of these people on there right now. They're mad because they found out that they're digital. It's like, no, it's still analog. It's just they've been processed and processed and processed so many times over and over again. And they've been doing this. They've been doing this. They've been doing it. It's like you could buy a record from the '80s and it's been reprocessed, and or it's been re-engineered, and it might be analog. They might have reprocessed and re-engineered it analogly, but it could be also a different engineer, and he could have done his little thing to it and changed the sound of it. But it's just like the old Beatles, man. Get the old Beatles, and that's the way it sounded, man. That's the closest you're gonna get to the original source without it being digitalized, because they didn't have computers back then, so it's analog. It's really close to being analog. So anyway, man, I was just sitting there thinking about this, and a lot of people, they're confused over this stuff. I know I'm in bed. I'm getting ready. It's 11:46. I got the alarm set for 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm gonna get up and I'm going fishing, and I've got this stuff in my mind right now, and a lot of times if I go to sleep and I wake up and I go fishing, and I just don't have the same train of thought. What's wrong, baby? Look at her. She don't feel good, baby. You don't feel good. You got to go use the restroom or something. What do you got to do? I might have to let her out. But anyway, just think about. I'm not telling you what to think or how to think or anything like this. I'm just putting some thoughts out there. Okay? And I want you to think. I want you to think about what I'm saying. And I want you to make your own decision up. It's okay to buy a digitally remastered album and listen to it. Basically that's my point. It's okay. Now you just have to ask yourself the question: do you want to spend $50 or $100 on a remastered album that probably does sound better because it's hotter and it's darker and it's got all these things? You know, it's still analog. The needle's still hitting. It's still running through your system. It's analog. So it's okay. It's okay. It's still analog, but the process. We're just getting farther away from the process. And a lot of these guys, they're just trying to make money, man. They're remarketing this stuff and they're doing different things. And some of you guys will say, yeah, the records sound better, But then I would say, yeah, but it's not correct. It's not what it was. It's not. You're not really hearing the album for the way it was actually recorded. So I mean, the argument goes round and round and round. So it is what it is. Enjoy your music. It's analog. You know, just all right. So I gotta go. I gotta see what she's up to. She's gotta go. So thanks for hanging out. I'm out of here.